Salutations everyone, and welcome back to another very exciting episode of the Jonneymon review series. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers masterpiece movie, Ratchet. On the front of the box, you can see that his name is both Autobot Ratchet and he's an Autobot, just in case you confused him with Decepticon Ratchet, who's an Autobot, or Autobot Ratchet, who's a Decepticon. You can also see that it's made in part by the people that make Thomas the Tank Engine toys, and it's for 8+ Hasbro. Now that is a math problem that I'm unfamiliar with, but apparently it equals Autobot Ratchet. On the top of the box it says Transformers Masterpiece Movie Series, and the word masterpiece is there to imply that it costs ludicrous amounts of money. On the side of the box you can see the ugly mug of Ratchet in his robot mode, as well as his vehicle mode. On the back of the box you'll find pictures, words, logos, things, for people who like those. On the other side of the box you can see him in his vehicle mode, and on the bottom of the box you might have already guessed, but there's words everywhere. Upon first taking him out of the box he comes packaged in his vehicle mode along with all of his accessories. And here's his vehicle mode in all of its glory, which is a yellowish green Hummer ambulance. Getting up close at the details, we can see that he has a bunch of headlights that are each done in a slightly blue tinted transparent plastic. He also has a tow cable which is painted silver, and the grille section itself is done in a very soft rubbery material. On the top we can see some very nicely detailed headlights and emergency lights. On the side of the truck we can see the very nicely printed red stripe as well as the Autobot emblem, and the safety stripes and the tools at the top of the ambulance. On the back of the truck we can see search and rescue and fire department prints as well as another Autobot emblem and more safety stripes. Here you can see the top of the truck in all of its glory, and the bottom of the truck in all of its hideous glory and the face of doom staring back at you. But wait, that's not all. He also comes with some accessories, and they easily store on the vehicle mode. Once you have that all set up, the pizza cutter becomes a propeller of death and the gun becomes a mounted turret. I made that up, but I'm using my imagination. Taking a closer look at the accessories, the missile pods are honestly kinda lame. I mean, it's nice that they included what most people didn't even know existed until it came with this set, but on the box they're advertised as being silver, whereas in hand they're just gray plastic. It's kinda disappointing, but it is what it is, it's not that big of a deal. The pizza cutter is very nicely done. It features two blades that spin independently of each other and it's sprayed in a very nice silver paint. Up next we have his gun, which is very nicely detailed and very nicely painted. No real problems with that. All in all, the truck mode is very nicely done. I just have a couple nitpicks, such as I wish the red stripe was a little bit more thick, like what we saw in the movie, because I think they're overcompensating for the deluxe figure's thick stripe, because that dude had a gummy worm on him. I also wish that the fire department and search and rescue logos were done in a slightly different shade of orange, or bordered in black, because it's very hard to see with the naked eye. Also, I can't seem to get these panel lines to line up properly. They work on the other side, just not this one. I think it's just my copy, but it is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. I can ignore it. For comparison, here he is with the only other Masterpiece figure that I own, the Masterpiece Barricade, the Studio Series Voyager Starscream, the Revenge of the Fallen Leader Optimus Prime, an empty bottle of Sprite Cranberry, and Zoe. Unfortunately, I don't have another Ratchet figure to compare him to because the only other Ratchet figure I've ever owned was the Voyager from the first movie. But that was honestly one of the reasons I was really excited to look at this figure. As a kid, the Voyager Ratchet was my favorite Autobot figure that I owned, and seeing this was so nostalgic to me. And moving right along to the transformation, which was a bitch to film. I was not prepared for this. Also, I'd be careful with these bits around the legs right here. They haven't shown any signs of damage, however, the noise they make during the transformation is disconcerting, and I just recommend finessing it and taking your time, being gentle with it, because that just doesn't sound healthy. Oh yeah, this windshield is not glued in or stuck in. It's in there very loose. It will fall off all the time, every time. I just recommend when you start transformation, just put that aside and put it on at the end. And after all that, we have the delicious robot mode. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I was kind of worried for this guy when I first saw the original listing photos and official release photos.
Since you're so, top heavy. Excuse me? Here we go.
However, after handling this guy in person and seeing it in 3 dimensions, that's almost completely forgivable, and it kind of fades away into the background. Getting up closer for inspection, the head sculpt is dead on and serves the CGI model very well. However, I find it unfortunate and also weird that they decided to only paint his nose silver when it looks like they should have painted his entire face silver. It's a very interesting thing they decided to do there. These bits here plug in, however that completely restricts the shoulder articulation, so I just don't have them plugged in ever. The instructions tell you to keep the light bar pointed up like this, however I think that adds to the top heaviness, so I point them downward and that kinda helps. Also, during transformation, do be careful swiveling those little light bars around. The first time I ever transformed this guy, while I was swiveling the right one, it broke off. It's not deadly, it can still plug in, but it's partially damaged and I have to be careful with it. Also, the instructions say to have the doors positioned on the arms kind of like this, but I don't really like how that looks, so I position them like this. Doesn't affect anything. But yeah, the detail throughout the rest of the figure is pretty good. These bits at the top of the legs are made of die-cast metal for no discernible reason. And the feet are made of die-cast metal. He does have a bit of a backpack, however after handling this figure, I can look past it, and I think they did a pretty good job cleaning it up. As for articulation, the head can look up and swivel. It can give you the screaming death face. Arm moves out on a ratchet. Bicep swivel. Ratchet at the elbow. Swivel at the wrist. Wrist moves inwards. Single hinge joint for the 2 thumbs, and the rest of the fingers are on 2 hinge joints. He has a waist swivel. Leg can kick up that far and kick back that far. Can do pretty much the full splits. Ratchet at the knee that allows for slightly less than 90 degrees of bend. Thigh swivel. And the feet move downward and have a slight pivot. Of course, you can arm him up in the robot mode by bringing in the missile pods and the pizza cutter so he can cut Decepticon's arms off. Both of those plug into the left hand. And the gun plugs into the right hand. There are also some very, very minor paint mishaps, like this silver here on the arm and this black here on the back. Those are my real only issues with the robot mode. I would have liked to have seen more at the ankle pivot, however if you work with what you have you can get some decent poses. Here he is with Barricade, Starscream, Prime, Sprite Cranberry, and Zoe. This figure honestly has a really excellent robot mode. It's a lot better in person than I thought it was going to be. So what would I rate this figure with the slight tolerance issues and the paint mishaps that I have? Well, pretty highly. I've actually been having a lot of fun with this guy, a lot more than I thought I was going to have. But, is that price worth it? Fuck no, it's not worth it. If this guy was on like a clearance sale or a Black Friday sale or something and was under $100, then I would highly recommend him. However, as it is, that asking price seems like a little too much, unless you're buying him from an online retailer, in which case you're fucked. All in all, I give Masterpiece Ratchet an 8.5. The slight tolerance issues and paint mishaps that I have keep this guy from getting the 9, but it's still an amazing figure and the best representation of movie Ratchet. In conclusion, the Transformers 1 games for the DS are the best pieces of movie-related media.